How one man broke out of prison. Using a spoon, a true story of survival, desperation, and redemption. A spoon. Not a key. Not a weapon. Not a plan written on the back of a napkin. A spoon. That's all Carl Reese had. And somehow, against steel doors, concrete walls, armed guards, and impossible odds, he used it to escape one of the most infamous maximum security prisons in America. But Carl wasn't a criminal mastermind. He wasn't violent. He wasn't even angry anymore. He was just forgotten. This is not just a story about escape. It's a story about what happens when a man loses everything and still refuses to disappear. Who was Carl Reese? Carl Reese was born in 1973. He came into the world behind the walls of poverty, in a forgotten corner of Louisiana. Ruston, population 20,000. A place where trains still echo through sleepy pine trees, and poverty sits quietly on porches. Carl was the oldest of four. His mother, Annette, struggled with drug dependency and depression. His father left before Carl could walk. By age 9, Carl was raising his siblings, cooking meals from scraps, tucking them into bed while his mother nodded off in the next room. He never had a childhood. What he had was survival. At 15, Carl was arrested for stealing diapers from a gas station. By 17, he was selling crack on the corner. At 19, he met a man named Leon Hayes. Leon was older, reckless, and dangerous. But Carl was scared, owed money, and Leon offered a way out. A robbery. Quick. Clean. In and out. Or so he thought. The crime that changed everything. October 2, 1992. Carl stood outside Tully's Pawn and Loan, wearing a hoodie and shaking hands. Leon said no one would be hurt. But when the owner reached under the counter, Leon panicked. He shot him. Once in the chest. The man died instantly. Carl didn't run. He just stood there. Frozen. Like the world had cracked beneath his feet. The police caught him an hour later. Under Louisiana's felony murder law, Carl was charged with murder, even though he hadn't pulled the trigger. Leon cut a deal. Testified. Got 15 years. Carl? He got life. No parole. No leniency. Just a number 233,019. Entering hell, Angola Prison. Angola. It's a name that haunts the American prison system. 18,000 acres of farmland, built on a former slave plantation. Angola is one of the largest, most notorious maximum security prisons in the United States. 90% of its inmates will die behind its walls. Carl arrived at 20. The first lesson? Don't cry. The second? Don't trust anyone. He was thrown into general population with lifers, men who'd killed, escaped, stabbed. Men who made rules with fists and kept them with knives. He was attacked in the showers. Twice. Forced into a gang he didn't believe in. Learned to fight. Learned to hide his hope. But something inside him stayed intact, barely. He kept a picture of his sister, Justine, in his Bible. She was the one person who wrote him letters. She told him, keep your soul clean. Even if everything around you is dirty. He tried. Decade of darkness. For the next 10 years, Carl survived. That's all he did. Not live. Not grow. He just made it to the next sunrise. He watched men go insane. Watched others die of cancer, beaten by guards, or just give up. He started writing letters to no one. Filling notebooks with thoughts, questions, memories. In 2003, everything changed. His mother died of a heroin overdose. The letter arrived 3 weeks late. It broke something inside him. Carl sat on his bunk, staring at the wall for hours. Days. And then, He picked up a torn encyclopedia someone left on the bench. The entry was GE, geology. Rocks. It was boring. But it kept his mind busy. It also planted a seed. The spark of escape. In 2007, Carl was transferred to cell block D, an older wing of the prison built in the 1950s. That's where he saw it, a small hairline crack behind the toilet, low on the floor. No one noticed it. No one cared. But Carl had spent years studying concrete through torn books and old prison manuals. He knew that after decades of Louisiana humidity, improper sealing, and water rot, the right kind of pressure might create an opening. And all he had was a spoon. The dig. Carl took a spoon from the cafeteria. Just one. Every inmate gets one. No one missed it. He began digging at night. 5 minutes at a time. Scratching. Hacking dust into old socks and flushing it. The spoon wore down. His hands blistered. The crack widened. Then, one night, the toilet moved. Just a fraction. Behind it was more wall. But softer. Old clay, patched with brick. He kept digging. He used toothpaste as wall putty. Wet paper to cover holes. Strips of bed sheet as filters to breathe. It took him 4 years. He never told a soul. The plan. Carl knew timing was everything. He memorized the guard shifts. Learned when they slacked. Watched who was lazy, who napped, who left early during storms. He created a calendar, marking down storm forecasts from radio chatter. He knew a night would come when wind and rain would mask his escape. That night came on October 11, 2012. A hurricane off the Gulf Coast brought thunder and chaos. Carl slipped through the hole at 1:33 a.m. It took 4 hours to crawl 40 feet under the yard. He emerged beneath a broken maintenance shed near the fence line. A bolt cutter, hidden weeks before in a nearby trash bin, opened the outer wire. He ran. And ran. "73 days of freedom." Carl lived as a ghost. He dyed his hair with shoe polish. Grew a beard. Took odd jobs under the name Daniel. In Biloxi, Mississippi, he found work cleaning fish at a seafood dock. He never spoke unless spoken to. Slept behind a church. Ate from shelters. Every night, he wrote a note in his journal, "Not caught today." On day 73, it ended. A man named Alan Carr spotted him on a bus. Alan had once served time at Angola. Carl had protected him during a gang dispute. But Alan had turned his life around. And he believed in justice. He made the call. Back to hell. And something more. Carl was returned to Angola in chains. This time, solitary. 6 years. 23 hours a day in a cell the size of a closet. No books. No sunlight. No sound. But he didn't break. He still had his mind. In 2018, a lawyer named Janet Morales read about Carl's escape. She wrote him a letter. "Why did you dig?" He replied, "Because I needed to know I was still alive." Janet took up his case. New legislation allowed for resentencing under youth trauma provisions. Carl had been 19. Poor. Unarmed. And in 2023, after 2 years of appeals, his sentence was commuted. He walked free. Resolution and reflection. Today, Carl Reese teaches literacy classes in Baton Rouge. He volunteers at a nonprofit for ex-offenders. He says almost nothing about the tunnel. Or the spoon. Or the prison that nearly swallowed him. But he tells every kid he meets, they can take your body. But if you keep your mind, your spirit can dig its way out. This isn't just about crime. It's about dignity, resilience, and what one man did with nothing but a spoon. And a refusal to give up. Carl Reese declined to sell his story to any film studio. He now lives a quiet life, off-grid, in Louisiana. If you found this exploration insightful, subscribe to Untold Truth for more deep dives into the hidden stories shaping our world. Share your thoughts on how one man broke out of prison in the comments below.